What is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. In this short video, I'm going to explain to you why I'm switching from the Galaxy Note 10 Plus over to the 11 Pro Max as my main phone. Now, before somebody gets in the comments who hasn't been on this channel before, the Galaxy Note 9 last year was my main phone for the majority of the year. Now, I did use the 10s Max alongside of it a lot. It was basically in my other pocket, but the SIM card stayed in here, and for good reason. The Note 9 was such a powerhouse. It had every feature I love, like headphone jack. It did have the S Pen dual speakers, great cameras, big screen, fast performance, lots of RAM, lots of storage, 512 gigs. This phone right here was everything I could dream of in a phone at the time. Okay, so the first reason I'm switching to the 11 Pro Max is the cameras. Now, first of all, I want to say I think the design is a little cleaner looking on the camera setup for the Note 10 Plus. And yes, I know it has 4 cameras on the rear versus 3, but I actually tested both of these already. I will share those samples in my upcoming comparison between these two. But I gotta say, I'm more impressed with the results I got on the 11 Pro Max. If you wanna see some video test results from this, check out my recent iPhone 11 Pro video test. You're just absolutely gonna be stunned by these cameras. They do have 4K 60 on the rear and 4K 60 on the front. And when you are switching between them, it's pretty seamless. Like, the quality matches up very well. Whereas on the Note 10 Plus, the front-facing camera doesn't look nearly as good as the rear. And also on the front, you can do 4K 30, but you can do 4K 60 on the rear. So matching that footage is a little bit tricky. Whereas with the iPhone 11 Pro Max, you can do 4K 60 on the front and the rear. So the results I'm seeing, to me, are more like what I want to use in terms of putting out on YouTube and things like that from the cameras that come on the 11 Pro Max. I just like the results better. And this is the first phone I've seen that I'm literally not going to be using my action camera much anymore. I'm not going to be using my DSLR much anymore. That's how good and impressed I am by these cameras. It's not a gimmick what they're talking about when you see this camera advertised everywhere. It's a really solid piece of equipment here. Okay, so there's a couple of things that I love about the Note 10 Plus, and they have made their way to the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Then the first one is swipe texting here for the Galaxy Note. So you can see, hey, what? And then if I go right here, I got night mode. Now, both of these features are now on the 11 Pro Max. You can do swipe texting right here, and you do have a dark mode here for iOS 13. So those were two of my favorite features that kept me on Samsung phones quite some time, and they're now here for iOS. So really do like that, and that's one of the reasons why it was easier for me to make a switch this time. Okay, so I'll be the first to admit that this is a real advantage of the Galaxy Note 10 Plus, to have the ability to pop view apps. In addition to that, have the ability to split screen applications. It's super productive and super handy a lot of times where you can split these applications. So really what I gotta say is that's a definite win for the Note 10 Plus. But the reason why that's not enough to keep me over there is because lately I've been feeling like, Android phones in general, not just the Note, but the Note really has so many features, and I just really want to focus on one app at a time and try to reduce the amount of multitasking I'm doing in my life, because it really does get overwhelming on your brain when you have a packed schedule to be multitasking. So what I mean is, I'd rather just be in one application all the time, and I know you can do that. You don't have to touch the multitasking features on the Note 10 Plus if you don't want to. But the fact that they're there makes me want to use them, and makes me feel like if I'm not using them, that why did I buy a Galaxy Note 10 Plus, if that makes sense. Now, also, yes, you have tons of customizations here for the Note 10 Plus, but personally, I don't think almost any of these look better than the way Samsung has it set up out of the box. So I don't really use that all too often. And so I really just find myself a little more focused on this more simple grid of icons setup. But it doesn't mean it's better. It's just it's working for me lately, and I just feel more focused and like less distracted by my phone on iOS right now. Okay, so I do absolutely adore the S Pen for the Galaxy Note 10 Plus, and I think it's a super productive tool if you do make use of it. But what I mostly use this for is to make lists of things. And I found this application that is on both Android and Apple phones, and that is the Microsoft To Do application. I don't know if you use this, you might use it, but it is super nice and super easy to make lists. And with this application, it's cross-platform. I could use it on any product. I don't really find myself needing the S Pen as much if I'm not going to use it for to-do lists. Now, quickly jotting notes down, I can simply use Apple Notes over here, but it's still fun to use the S Pen for that type of thing. So I do think it's a real advantage on the Note 10 Plus to have an S Pen over the 11 Pro Max. But for me, I find myself not using it quite as much since I got that Microsoft To Do application and all these other features like Live Message, AR Doodle. I don't really mess with those too much. I'm more productivity focused than using those type of features. That's more like the creative stuff. Okay, so a couple of other reasons. The matte textured back. This is really something to lay your eyes on. If you haven't been to the Apple Store or electronics store that has a Pro Max or a Pro, check it out. The matte texture back, it's not a fingerprint magnet, whereas the Note 10 Plus is a definite fingerprint magnet. You can't see it much on the Aura Glow here in video, but believe me, I wipe this thing down almost every day with my rag right here. So definitely, you don't have to do this much anymore unless you get fingerprints on the Apple logo right there. But other than that, this phone right here, really not a fingerprint magnet. I absolutely love that about this. And over here, I like the curves on the edges, and even so much so that I think that ergonomically, the Galaxy S10 Plus is more comfortable to use than the Galaxy Note 10 Plus, which has more of a square design. Now that's a trademark Note thing, but I'm just not feeling this as much as the corners on the 11 Pro Max. They just feel more comfortable to hold than this phone in general just feels more comfortable to hold in terms of ergonomics than the Note 10 Plus, although it's heavier, which is a win for Note 10 Plus. Next up is the battery. Now the battery is not as large here on the Pro Max as the Galaxy Note 10 Plus, but I'm finding myself to get almost the same type of battery life, and I find this phone to have much better standby battery life than the Note 10 Plus. Fast charging included with the 11 Pro Max is not slow either in my experience. So really that's kind of a wash. There's really not much in the way of those two. I just really like how the Pro Max can finally fast charge right out of the box and kind of catches up to Samsung here. So that's not really a benefit anymore here for me to use a Samsung phone. Also, the glass back does wireless charge just like this phone. And finally, I have a very specific reason, and that is LumaFusion. Now, I really would like to just take a video and edit when I'm out on the go. And there is no video editing app, I've tried them all, that's as powerful as this one on Android or the Galaxy Note 10 Plus. Now their built-in video editor is decent, but the iMovie is just as good as that built-in video editor for me on the Note 10 Plus. And this LumaFusion is just, it's kind of like, it's got a multi-track editor on a phone. It's insane. So this phone right here, when it comes to pro video and camera apps, it's just super polished for the 11 Pro Max, and it makes me feel like I have that power even if I'm not near my MacBook or my iPad. I can do it all here on the iPhone. And this video is not saying that this phone is better than this phone or this phone is better than this phone. This video is just saying why I'm particularly switching over. So I want to know which one you're going to pick this year, or did you pick one or the other? Why you wouldn't pick this phone or why you wouldn't pick this phone? Let me know down below. I'm really curious to hear what you got to say about these two, and stay tuned for my full comparison between these two where we actually compare them, not talking about my personal only opinions, where we talk about all the features and we talk about which phone is the better phone overall as a total package. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to be well, and peace.